still in the sky. "Why are we stopping so early? Tree across the road?"
"Greystone." I gestured up ahead to the slab of stone that loomed over the tops of the wagons ahead of us.
"What?"
"Every once in a while we run across one by the road." I gestured again to the greystone peering over the tops of smaller trees by the roadside. Like most greystones, it was a crudely hewn rectangle about a dozen feet tall. The wagons gathering around it seemed rather insubstantial compared to the stone's solid presence. "I've heard them called standing stones, but I've seen a lot of them that weren't standing, just lying on their sides. We always stop for the day when we find one, unless we're in a terrible hurry." I stopped, realizing I was babbling.
"I've known them by a different name. Waystones," Ben said quietly.
He looked old and tired. After a moment, he asked,
"Why do you stop when you find one?"
"We just always do. It's a break from the road." I thought for a moment. "I think they're supposed to be good luck." I wished I had more to say to keep the conversation going. His interest piqued, but I couldn't think of anything else.
"I suppose they could be at that."
Ben guided Alpha and Beta into a spot on the far side of the stone, away from most of the other wagons.
"Come back for dinner or soon afterward. We need to talk."
He turned without looking at me and began to unhitch Alpha from the wagon. I'd never seen Ben in a mood like this before. Worried that I'd ruined things between us, I turned and ran to my parents' wagon. I found my mother sitting in front of a fresh fire, slowly adding twigs to build it up. My father sat behind her, rubbing her neck and shoulders. They both looked up at the sound of my feet running toward them. "Can I eat with Ben tonight?" My mother looked up at my father, then back to me. "You shouldn't make yourself a nuisance, dear." "He invited. If I go now, I can help him set up for the night." She wiggled her shoulders, and my father started rubbing them again. She smiled at me. "Fair enough, but don't keep him up till the wee hours." She smiled at me. "Give me a kiss." She held out her arms, and I gave her a hug and a kiss. My father gave me a kiss, too.
"Let me have your shirt. It'll give me something to do while your mother fixes dinner."
He skinned me out of it and fingered the torn edges.
"This shirt is holy, more than it has any right to be."
I started to stammer out an explanation, but he waved it aside.
I know. It was all for the greater good. Try to be more careful, or I'll make you sew it yourself. There's a fresh one in your trunk. Bring me needle and thread while you're in there, if you'd be so kind."
I made a dash into the back of the wagon and drew on a fresh shirt. While I rummaged around for needle and thread, I heard my mother singing. "In evening when the sun is setting fast, I'll watch for you from high above. The time for your return is long since past, but mine is ever faithful love." My father answered, "In evening when the light is dying, my feet at last are homeward turning. The wind is through the willows sighing, please keep the hearth fire burning." When I came out of the wagon, he had her in a dramatic dip